We're going to do a quick update on NASDAQ or the NQ. As you see on the daily, let's zoom out a little bit and see our ranges. Always looking at the market and ranges and expansions. The market is nothing but a set of ranges inside of ranges inside of ranges. So on the daily, this is our bigger range that we have here. And you can see we've tapped into the pink pocket once, twice, hitting this 3-day order block early on Monday. Let's see. So we SFP'd that low. And now we are looking, since we SFP'd this low, we're looking for that pullback once again. Now it could pull back to another pink pocket or the golden zone here, 618 to the 786, or we could all come all the way up to the extreme premium section of this range to then go further down, or in the bullish case, we're going to break this and go further up. Again, we have the Trump tariffs today. So we're going to need to see what happens around 4 p.m. That might send us for a wild ride in one way or the other, or potentially both ways, sweeping out large areas of liquidity. We have a lot of stop losses around this range. This is going to be a very large liquidity area, especially right in here. You had a nice supply chain coming down into this area, into the Fibonacci zone. So let's clean this up a little bit now that we have covered that, and we have that as our compass. So we can see things a little bit clearer. This 3-day order block tapped right on it, and it definitely gave us a nice spring up. Speaking of springs, I am also looking at this as a 1-tap, 2-tap. And again, let's if you've been paying attention to Bitcoin and the traditional markets, S&P and NASDAQ, they have been following each other very, very closely this past week. Today has been a little bit different. However, the past few days it's been very, very close. You can see here where we kind of did that same thing where we SFP the low and we're continuing up higher. Same thing here, SFP the low, continuing up higher. Structure is always just a little bit different on these assets because S&P and NASDAQ are extremely volatile. So let's dig into a little bit more local price action. We have this local range that is right in the middle of this bigger range, which everyone knows I don't like to fiddle in the middle, but this is where we are at. This is why this 3-day block was so important and such a good opportunity, because it was in the extreme discount section of this range. Now we didn't quite get down to the extreme discount section of the block, and if we go to the extreme discount area, it would have started right here. However, your 0.5 or your midline EQ is right here. So we did, however, get into discount pricing. However, I would have liked to seen extreme discount pricing. So with that said, let's go here on the 30-minute and see what kind of action we are getting currently. So I had some local order blocks, and we did break this high here on a lower time frame, so we are getting a pullback into this order block currently. So let's go down to see if we can actually find a trade here. It's very low time frame structure. Very, very low time frame structure. I'd like to see it come down just a little bit further. Or dance around, range slightly, and then have at least a 1 minute structure break, but we do not have 1 minute structure coming down into this. So it is not preferred to take a trade at this moment just based off this reaction. We do have an engulfing candle, but I do not necessarily take that as a confirmation of any kind. We'll see how this pans out. It would be nicer to look at this as a range. And you just made an SFP of this here. Let's take a look at that again, actually. So we had this range first. This is where it started at. This was your range to look at. Then we SFP this range. However, this looks like this could potentially be a bearish power of 3, because this could be your accumulation zone here, your manipulation, and then your distribution. You could also view the range like so. And then you'd be looking at this here. It's kind of tiny manipulation. But will we see this type of thing here? Could we get that expansion back down? Something to also note here is that if we dig into the TPO charts really quick, we can see that we have put in a poor high. So we are having a nice reaction off this order block. So I would like to see this high swept one more time if we do come back down, because we also have made a poor low down here where this order block is. This, however, is a very nice low. That is a nice buying toe right there. So this is a great example if anyone doesn't understand TPO. Very nice buying toe. So I would not want to see that low taken. Let's go back to this chart and clean it up. Let's look at structure to the upside. So you did break structure here on a 30-minute time frame. However, when you come to the higher time frames, you can see that it was just an SFP. Let's go to the 1 hour. See, that right there is just an SFP. So that means we're targeting this high. Strong low, weak high. Protected low, targeted high. So let's go back down to the 5-minute here. So now we are getting that nice structure out of this order block, and I'd like to see these highs taken. If you would have just set a limit there, you could have done a 2.5 hour trade, but that's not my style and how I do things. Did we get any kind of structure? We really didn't. Once you saw this break here, you did have an order block right here that you came back into. You did leave demand down here though. Just wasn't something I would personally have traded. Now let's see if we had any confluence levels there. Just curious. Okay, so we do have the previous day high, and it pretty much reclaimed it. However, we are coming back into supply here, the one that broke down from this range. So what I'm kind of looking at right now is you had a range, initiation, come back and mitigate this range for a continuation. However, I do not want to leave these highs like this. These are very bad highs. I would suspect the overall local trend to continue up. And take out those highs. However, this could just be a nice deviation of this range. However, I would like it to deviate it one more time. So now that we have a new high, going to fix our range to include our new high. So that's really all I have on NQ at the moment. Just these two areas. This one has already been mitigated, obviously. There's really nothing in between that I would really consider. You do have a 10-minute block, 5-minute block here. We will put an alarm there. Alarm alert here as well. Let's take a look to see where the fib is coming in. That PDQ is very strong. I would watch this level as well, to be honest with you. Let's do a volume pull. Let's go from the previous high down to the previous low. We do have this high volume node right here. Aligns very nicely with the 618 area. We do have a very low volume node with a ledge right here at that order block or that demand zone. So this area right here at the top of this order block is very nice as well as this nice higher volume node with the value area low down here. So if we come into this block, you could see these as scalps, ultimately running up, or could be a nice day trade. But remember, we do have poor lows here. And you can see it on the chart. You don't even have to look at a TPO. You can see they're dead even. So there's no buying tail there. There's a nice buying tail here at the previous day low. Again, I would not like it to come down that far. It would be extremely bearish. But we could see some kind of wild rotation today for sure. Cleaning the highs, cleaning the lows, taking liquidity. Let's do a little bit higher time frame volume pulls. Yeah, that point of control is coming right in there as well. I do like that. Let's take this whole range here. That value area high was also a nice confluence to the previous reaction off this smaller order block. But I think it's going to be temporary lived. Let's take a look at this leg down. Okay, that value area low again is coming right around that 618 area. We do have a very low volume here. So we could see these areas come back into play and fill out this volume for more of a balanced profile. But really just using those high volume node areas as a support and resistance. High volume node. Fib, same thing here. You have a low volume, which is coinciding with this nice low here. Okay, that's about it on NASDAQ. Let's take a look locally once again. Take all that off. This load. So we did reject off of this supply order block. So far we have some nice wicks going into that, but it's really not going anywhere just yet. So it'll take some time, let it build up some structure. See if we take out this high. This high I'm going to put an alert at on this high. That's the next high I want to see taken. Either I want to see one of two things. I want to see structure come in here. And just kind of SFP that. And then come down. Simply just come up. Just like that. Option number 2, we actually break this high. And we have a nice back test of this range high into some demand and go to the next level. Again, we're playing level to level. If one level holds, we look to the next. If it holds, then we have a reversal. If it doesn't hold, then we look to the next level to the upside. Level to level, watch for confirmations, watch for volume, watch for your reactions. Do not predict.